Your party also voted on a remit to make English an official language of New Zealand. Do you think English is being erased or under threat?
If you don't know that, then you haven't been going around with the eyes open.
So
Now, question over here.
Can we go to the remit?
Look, excuse me. What is wrong here? You are seeing all sorts of signs up there where the place, in an age where communications and understanding is critically to be aligned, the first thing is in mind, which is spoken by, frankly, about 3% of the population max, and 97% have got to go to the other part, which is next to English, although that is the majority language in this country. So if you're not observing that, then we'll save you, because we are. Now,
well,
your question
now, you had a remit passed this morning unanimously calling for the indexation of income tax to the CPI. Yeah. Same policy as national. Would you make that a bottom line in your negotiation with any party in the coalition?
It's not the same policy as national at all. The National Party announcement policy sounds a bit like Liz Truss. What we're saying is that if you want stagflation to damage the economy, then we'll go on ignoring what's going on, and that's why we want it backdated and every so many years brought up to scale, so we don't have the kind of stagflation that this country has been the victim of.
The Nats want to move the tax thresholds with inflation.
No, he didn't say that. He said he's going to have tax cuts. He didn't. He might have given you a more sensible, rational answer to that later on. But when Luxon first made that statement, as you all well know, he didn't say that at all. I follow this guy very closely.
It is one of their policies. The difference between theirs and yours is you want to push it. You want to push tax brackets for 10 years of inflation, whereas they want to do 4 years of inflation.
Yeah.
Would you? Push,
well, I'm glad that you point out the difference, because it's not the same, is it?
Would you push the National Party further on it? Is it a bottom line?
Oh, excuse me, don't come to me this far from the election, having ignored this party all this time, saying that our cause is hopeless, and then start talking about bottom lines. Which part of this narrative is not being very consistent? We know we're coming back, but please don't go to the most experienced political party in this country and talk about bottom lines this far out.
A lot of talk about Labor at this conference, but not a lot of talk about National. What do you think about what Luxon's putting on the table?
In what sense? Which policies are you talking about?
Well, all his policies, what he's presenting to the voting public for the coming election.
Well, name one then.
Well, let's go with his tax cut package then.
Can I just give you one very polite answer? And I'm surely think that my party deserves this. This is about our New Zealand First convention. It's not about the Labour Party. It's not about the National Party, any other party. It's about a party that is going to be back doing what it always does, holding the system to account. And keeping the system honest.
David Seymour's just called you wasted vote, Winston, because you're a year late to opposing the housing intensification laws.
Oh, give me a break. Who signed up to the housing intensification laws? The National Party did, didn't they? Mr. Seymour, I know you're nervous, and I quite understand your condition.
And what do you make about...
I mean, I talked about in my close about authenticity, about imitation. I know why he's nervous.
The ACT Party has also written to the Auditor
Oh, here we go again. Now, it's the ACT Party. The National... Look, you've come to the wrong convention.
But do you see anything dodgy or anything...
Mr.
Shane Jones?
Let me tell you, Mr. Seymour is absolutely desperate. On the very day, you know what I think of polls, but on the very day UMR pointed to 4.4, he dropped his nerve and launched another attack. Mind you, in all those months in Parliament in 2020, when he attacked me on the SFO and found out that he, like the SFO, was lying, and when we won, he never apologised, did he? So look, I've seen this before. Mr. Seymour, I understand the condition. It's nervousness about relevance, isn't it?
But I guess that, do you see anything? Do you see...
No, look, sorry, I'm going to be fair here. If you don't mind, you know, this is not Tova and then Jessica and Tova and Jessica. It is being fair with every journalist. Can I hear from you?
Mr. Peters, you spoke about the billions needed for education and health. Are you going to supply that?
Yes.
How many? How much?
Well, the reality is we've got to set out... I've got people working on it, and the problem is it's seriously complex, but there's a lot of waste going on. But we know that compared to other first world countries, we're not spending enough there, and we're definitely not spending enough on health. That's why we spent so much time talking about the need to grow our economy, and we believe we can.
So you were confirming if you make it into government, you will put in billions for both education and health?
I want to remind you that in 1996, when I was the Treasurer of this country, that's the first thing I did. Massively spent both education and health as a budget. massively increased it. Go and look at my record.
And
I've always believed that.
But we're asking
And
about
at the same
2023,
time,
Mr.
reduce
Peters.
your tax take by indexing taxation to the CPI. How do you square that up? That is Liz Truss making huge cuts and cutting taxes.
No, but I gave you a serious line there. I talked about the 7 great changes we would make with respect to tax policy, to do with IT and every other relevant thing that this government is not doing. You see, why are we having brilliant young people having to leave our country? Like Rocket Lab, brilliant start, had to go. Why haven't we got behind them like other countries do? Finland, Iceland, these countries are the same size as us, but they're far more progressive. We have got to get back to doing that.
The next government is going to go into power with a large deficit, with a large net debt to GDP.
Yeah.
So where is all this money that you're going to spend on health and education and the tax concessions that you're going to make? Where's it all going to come from?
If you spend money based on long-term wealth creation and productivity, then the level of debt is not the concern it will be if you're spending it on consumption. That's the massive difference between us and the rest. They have aligned it towards consumption. They, for example, are going to bring in massive immigration at this moment. I've just told you what the crisis is going to be. They will not have the supply. It will not go towards the things that are needed now to turn this economy around. I haven't given up on our economy being like it once was in the first 3 in the world. We've got the base. Cameron Baggery's speech today was very, very critical. And he's very right.
What do you
There's going to have to be some hard decisions made. But the last thing he would talk about, and I would argue against, is to make the investment into wealth creation. That's where we're going to get ourselves out of this.
What do you think
Mr.
about
Peters,
Christopher
do you
Luxon?
see any issues with Shane Jones receiving a donation of $5,000 to his election campaign and then not recusing himself from a decision to give that same company almost a $10 million loan?
Can I just tell you what you're saying is utterly, totally pathetic. It is just so pathetic.
Do you not see any issue with that?
$5,000, and it's so pathetic. Nobody knew about that, nor did he.
It's $5,000.
And that's the best. That's the best they can do. This is a party, the ACT Party, that went all the way to the Court of Appeal, denying disclosure. Do you remember them? Do you remember their record? I do.
Mr. Peters,
Yes.
What do you think about Christopher Luxon as a leader for the National Party and a potential leader of the country?
Look, if you get me along to the next National Party convention, I'll talk about Christopher Luxon. I promise you I will. But you're at my party's convention now. I'm going to talk about New Zealand first.
banning gang patches, that's something that National's already committed to. Have you just adopted that from them?
Pixie dust, the National Party done nothing about the gangs. The National Party wound the gangs down. The National Party brought in catch and release. All the policies I'm telling you about. We came in 2007 and got 2,338 extra police. That's our record.
He's not wrong, though. That is a National Party policy.
Oh, yeah, well, the National Party's into imitation on these matters. But we're real. The first thing we did, and we inherited the job from Judith Collins, I wasn't the minister, but I'm the man who got the big increase in police numbers. But attrition was what they didn't address, the present government. And here we go.
How confident are you going to be that New Zealand First and Winston Peters is going to be back in Parliament after the next election?
Well, I trust the New Zealand people.
You're not concerned that the ACT Party might be taking away potential voters?
No,
that
I'm not.
would have voted?
No, I'm not. Have you seen our social media? Have you seen the army they've got, the taxpayers' money they've got, and what we haven't got? And we're still thousands and tens of thousands past them. And you ain't seen nothing yet, as Al Jolson would say. Thank you very much. I'm going to go.
What's more to come?